I realized that adding the piano made it feel a lot more hooky. Also that... One thing that's interesting about the piano is that you would expect, even I kind of forgot this, you would expect that the bass notes would be in there. The... But I must have decided that it was redundant with the guitar at some point, so the piano by itself sounds a little meandering on its own. So, okay, so from there, this is so interesting, but when I first made this percussion loop, the thing that I was going for was, I was sort of going for like Pink Pantherist Break It Off type vibe, like the way that Pink Pantherist has been doing these sort of jungly pop songs. I felt like, so simple. The one thing, I mean, it's too slow for, well, it's actually around jungle tempo. It's not swung at all. It's a super simple percussion loop. My favorite move is the triple kick here with the skip snare. It's like, it's got a little something to it. Yeah, and it's just like, there's also nothing that's really super up tempo besides Do Re Mi on Nurture, and so I felt like it would be kind of fresh to have like a guitar driven song that still feels like a Porter song, still feels like it could have been on Nurture in a way, but with like, it's like a little Nurture plus, you know, it's like Nurture with an up tempo drum feel. Some people have drum and bass. I don't really feel that. I think it's like the snare to me is a little more like it's a little like R&B two-step type of snare is kind of what I was going for, like just like a rim shot sort of vibe with a little clap layered on it. And so I don't see it as a D&B thing, but I mean, it does have the drum feel. So, I mean, I can see where people are coming from with that. Another thing that I kind of put a little extra amount of effort into was like the BVs and doubles. I tried to like emphasize my favorite lines with backing vocals. So like, for example, here, like if there's a lyric that really popped out for me, and my favorite lyric in the first verse, well, you were staring at the window. It's this last line here. And I said, I want to take you to the sea. Listen to all that background noise. When I'm better, we'll do everything. This bit. I gotta stop making promises I can't keep. But if So yeah, like I felt like I gotta stop making promises I can't keep is such an emotionally evocative line, because it makes you think like, why can't you keep that promise? Like, it's not because you don't want to. And I've talked about this on other streams, and for anyone who's kind of going through it right now or has any loved ones who are sick, maybe just a little warning on this here. But like, this whole verse is kind of, to me, it's written from the perspective of like a hospital room. Like, that was the image I had in my head. It's like, it says, you were staring out the window and I said, I want to take you to the sea. And then there's this perspective shift that says, when I'm better, we'll do everything. Then in parentheses, I got to stop making promises I can't keep. I felt like there's so much sadness contained in that line that when I wrote it, I was like really moved. And so, yeah, that's why I like really went kind of ham on the doubles there. Like, I gotta stop making promises I can't keep. One thing that was like a consistent struggle, it actually might not even be fixed in this version, was syncing up the P. No, okay, yes. Syncing up the P, yes. It sounded so much better once I did that. And yeah, for those of you who are like writing or producing or mixing your own vocals or something like that, like, listen to all this shit right here. I can cuss again. I'm on my own stream. Look at all this fucking bullshit here. Never cleaned that up. No need for that. I never cleaned it up. I just, I'm just so not particular about that kind of stuff. I'm never checking to see if my subs are mono. I don't care. I don't care. I truly do not give a fuck. So one other interesting little... Well, actually, I'll talk about guitars for a second here. This So the initial idea for the guitars here, the way it got recorded, was I can't really play the guitar. I'm sort of trying to learn right now, but I was working with a little like custom tuning. I don't know exactly which tuning it would be. Maybe not the one you're thinking of. And I played it on a left-handed guitar because what I wanted was I basically wanted the bass notes to be like the octave, then the fifth, and the octave. Maybe it was Dadgad. And I would just like bar the bottom three notes and let the top three notes just be whatever. And I played it one bar at a time, but the rhythm was really, really bad. So, I mean, it's still layered in there slightly, but ultimately it ended up getting re-recorded. Somebody from Riot, I hit them up. I was like, hey, if anyone knows how to play guitar, can y'all fix this for me? Which is very new for me. I don't normally have that kind of help. So it's like this bit here. Wait, why are these linked together? Hello? What? What? Okay, I guess I'm turning this all the way down. So yeah, like there's a lot more going on there. There's like a crystallizer on the guitar, and there's reverse pads here. These stems are fairly consolidated at this point. But the initial way that got played was I was like, oh, it'd be cool if this had like a strummed acoustic guitar feel, but I can't play, so I just did it like one measure at a time, basically playing it in note by note. And that's the story of why there's guitar in a Porter song, even though I can't play guitar. I gotta learn. I would really love to. Okay, so next anecdote. This is also guitar related. So for this, the first breakdown here.
But if I was gone tomorrow, won't the waves crash on? Is it selfish that I'm happy as we pass the setting sun?
So this has a sort of interesting story. When I first started to work with Riot Games on this song, I was working with one of their Riot's music composers, a guy named Brendan Williams, who did that orchestral version that I opened this stream with, which is just so incredibly beautiful. And, like I would say probably 97, 98% of this song was just kind of made inside of my sequencer in my studio by me. But I was leaning on Brendan fairly heavily on one, I was getting a lot of feedback, and two, anything that was the orchestral components he worked on. And so, but one of the really interesting things was when they first hit me up to do this Star Guardian track, I wasn't sure if I was going to even be able to come up with something good. And so, before I had made this chop here, before I had made that, I hit up Brendan. I was like, hey, man, if you want to just give me like some stuff to work with, if you just go in your studio and grab a guitar, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, piano, and play just a bunch of little random melodies that make you think about Star Guardian and my what you understand about my world musically, I'll just like grab those from you, and maybe I'll chop them up. Maybe I'll use them. Maybe I won't. But one of the things that he sent was this little electric guitar like arpeggio thing, this so the chords were actually in a different order than this, and it was in a different key and at a different tempo. But I was like, I had been working on the song, and I was trying to figure out what the breakdown would be like, what the pre-chorus might sound like. And I was like, what about those stems Brendan sent me a while ago? What about those little random elements? And I started pulling them in. I put it into the right key. I put it at the right tempo. And I was like, wait, this is really cool. Like, and he plays this one kind of funky chord. So that was an interesting breakthrough for me, because I love the fact that this part of, God, my light is so bright on me right now. Hold on. Oh, I'm a hacker. What's the best level here? Sorry, y'all. What if I just turn it off? Then it's too dark for my webcam. Okay. All right. We'll just leave it here. There's no happy medium. Okay, so one thing that I think is interesting about this guitar stem is that it was just like, it was basically written without any of the context of the song at all. It was just like, it was something that was kind of coexisting with everything that I had done, and I threw it in and it happened to work really well. And then, yeah, lyrically, this felt like a big breakthrough here.
But if I was gone tomorrow, won't the waves crash on? Is it selfish that I'm happy as we pass
This
the
part,
setting sun? Someday I'll be overcast, but you won't have to cry, 'cause we'll do the grieving. Well, I'm by your side, I said.
So yeah, interestingly, like parts of this are recorded like literally weeks apart from each other. Like as I'm writing vocals and as I'm working on lyrics, sometimes I'll record a little demo, and I think like all this stuff was probably the first take. This.
But if I was gone tomorrow, won't the waves crash on? Is it so?
I was like really happy with that, but then I wanted to change some of these lyrics down the line, so I had to kind of record them and match the tone.
I'll be overcast, but you won't have to cry.
One thing that's really interesting is to notice how dirty these vocals are. Like, you know, music producers, like you can listen to this and be like, wow, like there's actually so much effects on here. Like you can hear so much saturation, you can hear so much doubling, you can hear a little slap delay. Like even though it's a fairly like stylistically in the song, it doesn't feel like a big affected moment. You can hear that.
Someday I'll be overcast, but you won't have to cry.
You can feel a lot of the saturation there.
We'll do the grieving. Well, I'm by your side.
Yeah. We have one fill in this song that is, I was just straight up kind of going for an anime opening type feel with this fill. I was like, you know how oftentimes like anime openings will like the way that they'll go from the pre-chorus into the chorus is with just like a super hype fill. There's even one version of this that had like a guitar that went like ba-da, da-da, like a little minor or major 4 minor 3, no, major 4 major 3 move on it on guitar. I wonder if that's actually like in the stem super low, but it was kind of like check this out. Okay, so it was like this. It was like a like that sort of move, like da 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 right before it kicks in. Like,
Well, I'm by your side, I said.
yeah, I mean, it sounds like shit when I do it on the piano, and I think I pulled that move out because it was just didn't feel like the right emotion, but that was something that existed at one time. Okay, so one really important feature, y'all. I'm definitely gonna like. I'm gonna post. I'll probably post a video about this down the line. Maybe this is the video. But as some of y'all know, Rika was the person who got me into this game, and like she always asked me. She was like, you know, if you ever do a song with League of Legends, can I please just have like a tiny part of it? Like, can I just, you know, it's like Pharrell when Pharrell was like, Daft Punk, like on your new album, I'll come in, I'll play a tambourine. I don't care. Just let me have any part in it. That was Rika. She was like, I want to be canonically in League of Legends. And so I wanted to make that work. And so we recorded this choir that isn't entirely consists of Rika's voice. I wrote this little bit, and we recorded a bunch of takes so that she could be in the song. So it's like this.
I'm happy as we
I'll mute the vocals. Dude, what is happening? Why are these two channels linked? That's so weird. Okay, so here comes Rika. I'll turn it up. I love that. Doesn't she sound great? Yeah, it's so beautiful. I'm so happy Rika was able to like be part of the song. I'll play that stem solo now. Maybe with just the bass. Well, it's actually interesting without. It's missing the bass note, so it's like. Oh, actually, no, there are bass notes. And with the guitar, I love that story. I feel like I could cry right now talking about it. She like, I wasn't, yeah, I wasn't having like the best day either. That day I was like feeling kind of down and unmotivated, really stuck on the song. And so originally I tried to do like a Rika choir for the verse and it just wasn't it. And then, I don't know, it's like that eternal lesson of like, it would be harder to write out. At first I was like, oh, we'll just do some like little ambient bits in the verse. But then I was like, if we really want to do this, right, like we got to write out a full part for it. And so like, you know, I wrote it out and I showed it to her on MIDI. I have video of me recording it that I'll probably be, based on the reaction that this got, I feel like I should probably share it. So yeah, I love that. One more time. Yeah. Okay, so that's Rika's bit. One other thing that I'll show is the strings here are kind of interesting. I think I actually ended up using the mock-up, not the real strings here. Yeah, I think those are not the real strings that we actually recorded. Those exist elsewhere in this song. But it's just like a nice layer for behind Rika's voice. Yeah, it's cool. Oh, and that sounded so weird, but the doubles were... Okay, so next thing I'm going to talk about is the chorus. So one of the things that happened a ton, there's so many like little guitar layers and bass layers. There's like an organ. There's a lot of things that you wouldn't really be able to hear on first blush. So yeah, this is a stem called Porter Big Super Saw. People who are familiar with my music from before this will know what I mean when I call this Porter Big Super Saw. Yeah, we all know about that move. It was actually sort of like, yeah, it was kind of like when I first sent one of the versions of this over to Riot, they're like, can you make the first chorus feel like a little bigger? And I was like, sure. And so like that's how a lot of this Super Saw stuff ended up getting like raised in the mix and adding more layers. Another little fun layer is what I call a Star Guardian Arp. A lot of the like history of the Star Guardian music is kind of more like, it's a little more like future bassy. It's like the like cute stuff. And so I felt like having a little synth in that style could be kind of cool. So I'll play it with the bass and guitars for context. It's this bit. Yeah, interesting stuff there. Wait, was one of these guitars off time? Hold on. Wait, do y'all hear that? This must be in the master. Oh, this one's off. That one, it's late. There's a like slightly late instance of the sample that I never noticed, like right here in the song. Da, 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 da. Yeah, it's like a couple milliseconds off. Interesting. I mean, it doesn't change the feel of that section at all, but this is another little interesting detail. Sometimes I'll have this I'll have this experience where I'm working on a song and I'll kind of like hear something in the harmonies and then I'll recreate that to make it louder. And this was something that I was hearing in the harmonies of this section. Very sound fonty string bit. I think I was just hearing it like You can kind of still hear it when it's muted. It's really, really subtle in the final mix. My songs have a lot of stuff like that, like stuff that you don't really hear but you feel. It's not necessary to have stuff like that in your music, honestly. Sometimes it just clutters it up, and like I think I take it too far sometimes. But like sometimes it's like me not wanting to delete stuff or being scared to delete stuff. But yeah, that's what these strings are here. It's like one of those elements that probably doesn't make a big difference in the final thing, but like I just kind of like it. Sort of like a square fifth sounding harmony. Like little Joe Hisaishi type vibe or something like that. I don't know. I also really, really love this little effect stem. This little metallic ping. I love this thing. And that's being sidechained against the kick and snare. So that's why it's like... It doesn't even match the sidechain anymore, but just sounds cool. I think this actually may have been... That might have been a stem from Fellow Feeling, I believe. I keep sample packs of all my old songs. And I try to avoid pulling from them, but I had a specific like glassy sound in mind. So... Yeah. So other stuff about this this chorus here. I've talked about this before on stream, but just from the perspective of the writing, I had the first half of this chorus figured out so fucking early. It was like the "Don't look for me, I'm just a..." That whole section. I just did it like down 4 semitones, but that whole section was like the first thing I figured out, and in particular, the chord movement behind "I'm Just a Story You've Been Told" is like, this is the center of the song to me. It's the, hold on.
Don't try to make yourself remember.
This chord movement here, this. That's like when I realized like you could do a slightly less obvious move and go 1, 3, 6, 5. I was like, oh my God, like that sounds so cool. And yeah, it just gave me that feeling, you know, with like that feeling when you make something and you've started something and you're like, oh shit, I'm going to dedicate the next 2 months of my life to this, because if I don't release this one day, I'm going to have to like be very upset with myself. Like when something gets past the threshold of where you can't not release it. That's what this was like for me. I was like, when I wrote "I'm Just a Story You've Been Told," I was like, when the lyric and the melody and the chords all come together, that's when I'm like the happiest.
Just a story you've been told. So let's...
And then this part, the second half, "So Let's Pretend a Little Longer," took me the absolute longest. I think like this section here, I wanted the third quarter of the chorus to have the same rhythm as the first quarter. So it was like dun, 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 and like or something like that. You know, it was like some very similar rhythm. I thought it needed to start on the 2, like dun, dun. But then when I realized I could do a little lead in with the "So let's pretend," like when I realized I could do a lead in. And I'm singing very shyly right now, by the way. I'm a little embarrassed, so I'm not sending it. But when I realized like I could do that lead in there, that was when the rhythm sort of unlocked for me. And then it was like another month. I know this music sounds so simple in a way, but like I knew that this chorus, basically the way this chorus feels is the first 3 quarters of it are setting up a big line at the end. It's all of the lines are like tumbling forward in terms of meaning. Like, it's like there needs to be some delivery, and so it puts such unbelievable pressure on this last line here to say something or to mean something, and it just took me forever to figure out what that was going to be. Like, this is kind of like a Nashville music trope that I heard this described after writing this song. People are saying send it. Maybe I will later. We'll see. Without my precious auto-tune. Like in terms of meaning and in terms of the melody and writing. Like,
don't try to make yourself remember, darling. Don't look for me, I'm just a story you've been told. So let's pretend a little longer, 'cause when we're gone.
it just needed something to land on, basically. It's like, yeah, and in terms of meaning, that lyric for me was like, so many of these lyrics are evocative of the idea of mortality and of like death and stuff like that. And I really tried to think long and hard, like, well, what do I actually think about death? Like, what deep down, like, trying to completely put out of my head the fact that this has anything to do with a video game. Like, what do I actually think? And a feeling that I've had many, many times, especially in the last couple of years. I talked about this the other day on the stream with Vienna, is that I get this unbelievable sense of peace from, like, when I'm especially when I'm outside. I did a little picnic with Rika on her birthday last year, and I had this feeling more strongly than I've ever had it before, where I was just like looking at the birds and like looking at the sky and everything and thinking about how, like, man, like when I'm gone and when everyone I know is gone, like all this stuff is gonna continue, like just knowing that things will carry on and that the passage of time will move forward. Like, humans are powerful. We can create a lot of destruction, but like the universe is going to keep marching forward and things will keep happening. And I get such this unbelievable sense of peace from it, man. Like, if that sounds like I'm on mushrooms or whatever, like maybe try it yourself. Like, try going outside and really trying to contemplate like the world around you, and just knowing that, like, that after we're all gone, like everything will continue. I get this real peace from it. I don't know why. It's just like, man, like these birds are minding their own business, and like there's going to be more of them, and just there's something really beautiful to me about the fact that no matter what happens, no matter what I do, like things will carry on in some form or another. And I think that's just really beautiful, and I love it. And it's a little hard to. It's one of those things that it's hard to describe verbally. It just kind of has to be felt. Yeah, man. Not to go on too much length about like mindfulness in particular, but it's something that's helped me so much in my life, especially when I was like, inconsolably depressed and extremely anxious, is like just actually taking, I'm going to do it. I've tried to do this at my shows before to moderate success, but I'm going to do a little mindfulness thing right now. So what's the most trash thing here right now? Okay. Is it the chat? No. Okay. It's like, okay, this like dirty paper towel. Indulge me for a second. Okay. Like, take this dirty paper towel with the damn Bounty logo on it. Dude, like, if you had never had vision before in your entire life, look how fucking like incredible this pattern is. You could give me the rest of my life to try to make something like this, and like I wouldn't even know where to begin. Like okay, let me get rid of everyone's saying sponsored. Let me cover up the Bounty. Here, fuck Bounty. Fuck Bounty. Doesn't need to be a paper towel. It's just like, everything around us in our world is like unbelievably, impossibly detailed and incredibly fascinating upon any inspection. And yeah, fuck Bounty. Like it's truly everything. And it's like, the reason I think this is relevant, I think the reason this bears mentioning, is that like our brains were really good at filtering out non-essential information. Like, we're wired to look for threats. We're wired to fear social exclusion. So that's why so many of us spend so much of our time on Twitter making sure that we're not like, bad, right? And like because we're scared of doing the wrong thing or being ostracized socially or whatever. That's why, like, and it's so easy to miss just the unbelievable detail of everything around us in our world. And I know that probably like 70% of you listening to this are just like, okay, go back to the music walkthrough, like shut the fuck up. But if there's anyone here who can actually take this lesson on and like, as they go about their day, actually like try to take something that you would ordinarily not think about at all and inspect it really closely with all of your senses. Just like, the world we live in is fascinating and extremely detailed and extremely beautiful, and it's worthy of our attention. And so that's my little, that's my Someone said, no one said that. That's true. You know who said that was me. Yeah. Yeah, no one thinks that. Thank you guys. Dude, my brain is so wired to think of like how I might be boring people or how I might be alienating people, or it's the exact problem I'm describing right now, and there's no real escaping from it. But yeah, man, seriously, when I said look at the sky, I meant that shit. Like, it's unfucking believable. Like, okay, last little exercise here. Picture like the most beautiful, fluffy cumulonimbus, nimble cumulus clouds you've ever seen in your life. Okay. Picture those, and I really distracted us with a joke. I'm sorry. Cumur. Okay, wait, hold on. But actually, though, jokes aside, back to the actual idea here. Back to the actual idea here. Hold on. If you actually, I really undermined myself here with the Coomer joke. Imagine like a beautiful cumulonimbus sky. And imagine that like you came from a planet that was like, whose atmosphere didn't generate clouds, or like imagine you were a creature that didn't have, like imagine if you'd never had vision in your entire life, for example. Or, you know, if you're seeing or this can be applied to any sense. Imagine you came from a planet where there was like no sky. Imagine like coming to Earth for the first time and looking up and seeing these amorphous floating water particles above you that like can rain, and they can shoot like electricity, and they can be pink, and they can be white, and the sky can be, it's just like, I love the sky for two reasons, I think, creatively, and that's why it comes up in my work so much. One is because it's like this feeling of like looking up to me is like it's a metaphor for, I think, awe, which is something that I feel all the time, just like awe at the world around you. And two, it's just like this, it's this insert for like natural beauty, and it's this thing that can take on so many forms, and it's so instantly recognizable as something beautiful. Like people are just like, oh, like look at those clouds, you know. I just love it. It's like kind of always accessible to us. And so, anyways, end of the mindfulness tear. Back to the stems. This world is incredible and amazing, and I cherish every second I get to spend here. I hope you can feel that as well. Okay. Oh, Alicia says, Porter, I've been looking up at the sky since you dropped that song, and it has significantly made me a more hopeful person. That is so awesome. I'm really happy to hear that. Okay, so I actually don't remember what's in this BV stem. Oh, actually, this is worth mentioning. Listen to this. Oh, wait, wrong stem. Don't try to make yourself remember, darling. Don't look for me, I'm just a story you've been told. So let's pretend a little longer. So it's relevant. Some people asked if the nurture voice was like, people have been making versions of the track that has the nurture voice in there. This is more of a it's not really stylistic. This is more practical. I just like the nurture voice being included here doesn't have meaning to me. It doesn't express anything. It's just like a really functional thing for me here. Because like ordinarily I'll use the nurture voice, I think, to express like introspection or like a negative inner voice or something else. And in this case, it doesn't mean that to me. It's more just like it fills that high end space really nicely for me, and it sounded better to me than the falsetto that I could have done. Don't try to make yourself remember, darling. Listen to how like badly cut up the breaths are. Darling. Like man, I'm so sloppy when it comes to like comping vocals and stuff like that. So for the uninitiated here, one of the ways people talk about how singers cheat, autotune is one of the ways. The other ways is through extensive vocal comping, where basically you sing the same section like 50 times in a row and you cut out the parts, the best takes. And so oftentimes there's little choppy elements that come from cutting between the takes.
darling.
You can hear that there. And every artist does this, basically. It's like this is just part of how you make vocals sound good. It's almost like there's been like an arms race with vocals and vocal production, where it's like if you just take your voice straight up, even a good singer, you take a good singer and you record their voice straight up without effects, and it, like, because of how much like vocal production, how far it's come with, like, you have your lead vocal, you have your doubles left and right, you have auto-tune, you have EQ, you have all these things, like, you know, you have harmonies. There's so many things, even if you can't hear them, that fill out the vocal. So I would encourage people who are recording their own vocals for the first time to not sweat the fact that their first result is going to sound like shit, because mine does too. Like, you really have to put a ton of effort into vocal chains. Like, every single section on this song has a different vocal chain. There's tons of doubles, there's tons of harmonies, like, and it's something that's gradual too. Like, it doesn't just click all at once. It's like a Bob Ross painting. I think mixing vocals and writing vocals is like a Bob Ross painting, where gradually the good result comes into focus. It doesn't snap into place until well into the process, and it doesn't snap into place when you make a big change usually. It's just like, what does this need? Does this need another octave? Like, and then if you listen to the song to the untrained ear, it kind of just sounds like one vocal. It's like,
Don't try to make yourself remember.
but it's not. And actually, let me show you what it sounds like without all the backing vocals. And this is with effects and everything. Maybe this will still sound good to some of y'all, but it's not nearly as wide. It's like,
Don't try to make yourself remember.
versus,
Don't try to make yourself remember.
for those of you who have headphones on, you'll be able to feel that difference. Here's the full lead vocal.
Don't try to make yourself remember, darling. Don't look for me, I'm just a story you've been told. So let's pretend a little longer, 'cause when we're gone, everything goes on.
Yeah, it's like there's tons of noise in the lead vocal and stuff like that. Because of the style of music, it doesn't hurt. And so if I get a really good vocal take, but there's noise in the background, I'll just like fucking keep it. I don't care. One thing I should mention is that my dad is sort of inspired this stream. He came to my house yesterday and he was like, "Can I ask you some questions about Everything Goes On? Like, how did you do this thing? How did this chord emerge?" And I started giving my dad like this stem breakdown, and he was just loving it. And I was like, I should do this on stream to end next week's streaming tour. Or this week's streaming tour. There's some interesting fills here at the end of the chorus. Isn't that funny? There's just a straight up 909 house loop in this track. You wouldn't feel it, but it makes a big difference. It's like, there's an extra layer on the snare there worth noting. Like, this is the verse snare, chorus snare. And then these fills are kind of cool. I think I even pulled some jungle breaks there for, I think, maybe. Yeah, I don't even remember. Okay, let's see, anything else of note here?
And I'm so scared.
One thing I want to talk about, this is another lyrics thing. I really hyper-focused on the lyrics of this song, and that was like half my efforts. And one of the lyrical moves of this song is the symmetry between this first verse and this second verse, which a good amount of this is kind of cut from the video edit. But let's just think through the lyrics of the first and second verse. So it's like,
You were staring at the window, and it said, I wanna take you to the sea. And when I'm better, we'll do everything. I gotta stop making promises I can't keep.
yeah, I'm gonna write it down.
You were staring at the window, and it said, I wanna take you to the sea. And when I'm better, we'll do everything. I gotta stop making promises I can't keep.
So then the second verse,
Everything goes on. tethered in your room. Well, someday both of us are leaving here, but for now I'll just bring this sea to you.
I love that symmetry about the C line, because like the way that I think about this first verse is like, I've mentioned before how I see this as being like from the perspective of a hospital room, where it's like, when I get better, we're gonna go do everything, and the person's thinking to themselves like, I gotta stop making promises that I can't keep. I just promised that we're gonna go do everything. That I can't guarantee that. And the second verse has this last line. It's kind of from the perspective of the other person. It's like, well, someday both of us are leaving here, but for now, I'll just bring the sea to you. I feel like, it's one of the ways that we can cope with loss and grief and pain. It's like, I'm often struck by how like you can spend your life reducing other people's suffering. That's something you can do. It's like, you can choose right now. You could choose to go and make things worse for people. Or you could you could full-time work at an old folks home, or you could volunteer at the hospital. You could actually, you could train a dog and like, get that dog certified to go meet people who are dealing with cancer or whatever. There's a million ways that you can help. And I just think it's like kind of amazing that like, when my younger brother was sick, that was something that made a really big difference, was when he got visits from dogs in the hospital. And so I don't know, I'm really struck by like, sometimes our efforts can feel meaningless, and like life can sometimes feel meaningless. And one meaning is that we all know what it's like to suffer, and we all know what it's like to feel pain, and we also know what it's like to not suffer. And one thing that you can do with your time, you can make this choice right now, is to reduce other people's suffering. And like, that's really, my fiance, I think, is the perfect example of that, where like sometimes I'll just be like, oh, it doesn't matter, like fuck it, like, I don't have the energy to do this, like, nothing matters. Like I can feel that way sometimes. And she'll be like, well, what if we just do it properly? Like let's take it step by step. Let's figure it out. And like, like for example, okay, this is a really minor example, but sometimes like I'll be in bed and I'll like be like, watch, this is such a minor example of suffering, but for whatever reason this popped into my head. Like I'll just be like dealing with like the fact that like, I don't know, that like my pillow is really uncomfortable for months on end. And she's like, you can make that better. And she'll do it. She'll like when I'm watching TV, sometimes she'll like grab my pillow and like adjust it. I have back issues and stuff like that. And she'll just like fix it. And like, I'll be way more comfortable. And it seems so obvious, but it's just like you can make things better for yourself and for other people. And so anyways, this was just something that I thought of, like with this idea of bringing the sea to somebody. Like you can't, right, for now, you can't take yourself or me to the sea. So I'll just bring the sea to you. I think it's like to a certain extent, grief, loss, suffering are all unavoidable, but they can be helped a little bit. And I think that that's really special and kind of, gives meaning. I think so. Okay. I also went ham on the doubles for that line because it meant a lot to me. And I do that all over this song.
And I'm so scared of getting used to this.
And I also put the chord change from the chorus behind that line because it made it feel happier and more hopeful.
Well, someday both of us are leaving here, but for now I'll just bring this sea to you.
So the BVs you can hear here.
But for now I'll just bring this sea to you.
And with the lead vocal in as well.
Yeah, but for now I'll just bring this sea to you.
And so like, here, let me just demonstrate something really quickly about how the chords could have gone there. And I'll demonstrate how it changes the feeling. So the chords could have gone like this. It could have been like, so like.
And I'm so scared of getting
oh wait,
used to this.
there's like a filter on it.
To keep you tethered in your room.
Okay, like this. It could have gone.
Well, someday both of us are leaving here, but for now I'll just bring the sea to you. Oh.
Feels way darker with the going from the major C into the minor 6 here. Like,
I'll just bring the sea to you.
It like that movement that the vocal does from the 7th into the root note, like it takes on a totally different tone without that chord change. One more time. Think about how, like, bring the sea to you. Think about how that feels.
I'll just bring the sea to you.
And so I took this move from the chorus that goes behind the story you've been told. Oh my God. My bad. I really got to just send these vocals. I got to stop doing the shy version of them. This part, where it goes 1, 3, 6, 5, 4. I took that and placed it underneath that part of the verse. It's the only time it happens under the verse there, and it just makes it feel way more hopeful. Like, so this is.
Both of us are leaving here, but for now I'll just bring the sea to you.
Yeah, it's just dum dum da 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 dum da 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 da. Just that little chord move makes it feel way more like, it's like happy sad. It's one of my favorite feelings in music. It's like where the lyric is saying something that's painful. It's like hopeful but painful. Like, I've tried so many times and failed in my interviews to describe this fucking feeling of like art or music or media that packs in the feeling of grief, loss, hope, joy, all of them all together. Like, that's my favorite. That's the crux of art for me. That's what I'm interested in expressing and have been for the longest time. And this little chord change just does it for me. It's like you're just talking about how somebody, like, is sick and can't leave, but you're going to try to make things better by, like, you're going to try to make their everyday life better. And just putting this little, like, carefree, whimsical chord move behind it.
I'll just bring the sea to you.
Love that. Okay, one other. Someone says melancholy. Maybe that's the word. I feel like there's more to it than that. Let me text Rika back really quick. One sec. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap this stream up in like 15 minutes or something like that. I've got to go after this, but we're coming to the end of the song here, anyways. If you have any questions about this song or about how anything was done, please ask now. I'm going to read it so that I can make sure that I answer it, basically. Mixing tips. How do you choose the voicing of your chords? Oh my God, wait, this is too many. I did not do the master. Master chain. Oh my God, wait, it's too many. I'm so sorry, y'all. This is like actually semi-unreadable. How big is the project file? Really, 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 really big. It was like four projects. Are you going to play this at Oshiaga? No, I'm not. I'm not playing Everything Goes On, I think, until Second Sky. To be honest, it's just a purely practical thing. My life has been a real whirlwind recently, and making major updates to the live show is really time consuming. So, when I debut it, I want to debut it right. So, for this weekend, Hard, Oshiaga, Veld, I think are going to be just like more traditional Nurture live shows. Let's see. How much of the song was done at home studio versus the Right Game studio? I mean, like, I would say 99% done at my house, just by me. And that's not to like undercredit Brendan in any way, or Right Game's team. It was just like, I wanted this to be a super, super personal song. So like I've mentioned before, the major contributions from Brendan. Brendan did that entire orchestral version that I played at the beginning of the stream, which is maybe the best version of this song. Brendan also arranged and wrote all of the strings. Like 100% of the strings were... Here, I'll play this bit. Brendan also gave me feedback, like things that nothing I ever disagreed with. It was all stuff that was constructive to the song. Like, can you make this first chorus like a little noisier and brighter? Like, it felt a little more barren before that. Brendan did these electric guitars that I mentioned before. And also, Brendan was just like an incredible sounding board the whole time working on this song, just to like have someone to... Oh, he worked a lot on the video edit with me. That was really, really essential. We sat at Riot Games together for like 3 days, and we worked on how we were going to do the video edit. Yeah, I mean, Brendan was really, really in the mix, like with those kinds of details. I think like the core of the song was just like stuff, like it's like a, you know, it is a Porter song at its core. Here's an interesting thing. So, there was the Japanese artist Hige Driver, just contributed this one little vocal melody to the track, because I was sending the track around to some people at some point, and this was a suggestion that Hige Driver made that I really like. So it's this one. So. It cuts in kind of strangely, that little bit there was that's Hige Driver. It's just like this tiny little thing at the very end of the last chorus. It's kind of hard to hear. Let me turn it up. So it's like this bit. That's so good. It's like it's really far back in the mix. I love that. So that was just like, that was something that Hige Driver sent, and I was like, oh man, I'm keeping it. And so Hige Driver has like there's a credit on the song, and some people have wondered like what Hige Driver contributed. It was this vocal melody. Yeah, just like a small detail that once I heard it, I couldn't unhear it. Okay, so a couple other things that I want to talk about. Oh, someone asked, how did you come up with the non-diatonic chord change? I don't know what non-diatonic means, to be honest with you. But this was just like, okay, so this move, I know what you're talking about. It's this move. It's like... It's this part. Wait, not yet, sorry. This part right here. That just came from like wanting that last chorus to just really like just be as over the top as possible. Maybe you all can see my piano roll. So all that's really happening there with that chord. So it's like oh, my sustain pedal is kind of making it hard to see what I'm doing, but so it's this. So normally it goes. So normally it goes from the major 4 to the major 6 with some, you know, like some of these voicings, like that sort of thing. But I tried a bunch of variations. I had like, so let's pretend a little longer, like that sort of thing. I tried that at some point, but that's actually not what I ended up doing. What I ended up doing was man, I'm really too embarrassed to sing here. I think if I sent it would be better, but I'm just like, I'm scared of failing at it. So for now, I'm gonna go halfway with it. So it's like F. It's a minor 4, and the thing that makes that feel special is that the bass jumps up an octave there. It goes. So I'll pull open that the bass sound and the chord there for that last. So let's pretend a little longer. I think that feels really special. I'll put in the chords as well, the synth chords. So it's like. So that's a move that's unique to that section of the song. Is like, I think that section feels way less special if I was to just keep the bass in the same octave. I'll show you what that sounds like. I think that like. It's a very like anime opening-esque move as well, that like bringing the bass up by an octave there, that but like this is what it sounds like if I don't do that bass leap. It's cool, but it's not as cool. It's like It's not as emotional. So I'll turn up the bass drum a little bit so you can hear it. So it's the same, you know, it's still a 4 chord, it's still an F, but it's like, it's just the minor version of it. That's really all that's happening, and like that's a pretty common chord progression. I think like Pixel Empire by Madeon might do that. Like, but the thing that makes that feel really special, in my opinion, is the fact that every other time we've heard it, it's kind of been or that was something I went back and forth on so many times, by the way, is whether or not for the so let's pretend a little longer, whether it should be 4 5 3 6 or 4 5 6 3. So here's how both feel. I do both in the song. That slightly weird voicing there. Let me try that again. Wait. Oh yeah. Sorry. One more time. Versus. Fuck. My bad. That's kind of nice too. It's like it the tension just resolves at a different point. So I think the feeling of going, it's nice for the 4th chord to resolve it, but like the other way to do it is to just have it resolve on the 3rd chord, or you lose some of that tension. It's like an inverted C. I don't know whether that's a 3 or an inverted C. And then, of course, the other option, which is the one that I do for the last chorus, is, yeah, the... That's kind of quiet. Sorry, was the piano too quiet there, y'all? Yeah, so it's kind of cool to get that like higher bass note there. Oh, one other detail of the song that I like that I'll kind of talk about for a second is there's this delayed string. Whoa, look at how that affects lighting. There's this delayed like string kind of explosion that happens in the last chorus. Look at how the strings just cut out here. Here they come. It was so hard to save that move for the last chorus because I wanted it every time. I'll turn up the piano and I'll solo the piano and strings against the bass here so you can kind of hear what's happening there. Or maybe I'll just mute the vocals and drums. Yeah, I'll do that.
I couldn't find that in your Spotify library.
Oh.
You can ask me to...
Hello, Siri. Okay. Oh. Here come the strings. It's so good. It's so good, man. Oh, it's so good. Oh, I love it. It's nice for me to hear it like with my vocals muted. It's just like my ear really gets pulled by my vocal, especially since I'm like, you know, it's just like me singing. Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's basically it. That's basically how this song was written. It's just like, you know, so much was written me sitting at the piano and at the guitar, and I a lot of it is also with me. A lot of my music nowadays is written with me just like writing an instrumental section like this, and then just like screaming bullshit into autotune over it. Really common technique. Until I start to hear sort of music in the noise, I guess. And that's absolutely how this chorus got started. And so yeah, that's a little insight into Everything Goes On.